Despite loud statements from the media that the US and Iran are getting closer and closer to reaching a peace agreement, there are actually more and more signs that Trump is preparing to resume the war against Iran. In particular, today, on May 23rd, Trump even missed his son's wedding, citing important affairs of state. But that's not even the main sign. The day before, Trump called an emergency meeting with his team of high-ranking national security officials. And this meeting was specifically dedicated to the war with Iran. And now, Axios reports that the White House is indeed preparing for a massive attack on Iran. In addition, right now, the same developments are unfolding in Washington as was seen before the start of the US war against Iran on February 28. As a result, even Donald Trump himself let slip today that by Sunday, something very important and decisive will happen. I'm Pechiy. Let's discuss this together. But before we start, I ask you, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this episode, and leave any comment under this video. I'd really appreciate it, because it really helps promote the content on YouTube. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel Pechiy News. The link to it is in the description of this video. So, recently, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, once again convened a meeting with his team of high-ranking national security officials dedicated to the war with Iran. According to sources, Trump is seriously considering launching new strikes against Iran if there is no breakthrough in the negotiations at the last moment. Trump's meeting with his team took place exactly at the time when the head of the Pakistani army, Field Marshal Asim Munir, went to Tehran, apparently in a last attempt to establish dialogue and prevent the resumption of war. Here I would like to note that Asim Munir is a favorite of both Donald Trump and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran. He is truly the kind of mediator who can communicate equally well with both sides. And on Friday, a delegation from Qatar also arrived in Tehran to support the mediation efforts. Already on Saturday, Munir met with General Ahmad Vahidi. He is the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran and a key participant in the decision-making process in Iran. But the Iranians insist on their position and do not want to make concessions, and we will return to Asim Munir later. But here is the big question. A few hours after Trump's Friday meeting with his team, the White House suddenly announced a change in Donald Trump's weekend schedule. For example, Trump announced that he would not attend the wedding of his son Don Jr. this weekend, and next I'll quote Trump. Although I really wanted to be with my son Don Jr. and the new member of the Trump family, his future wife Bettina, circumstances related to government affairs and my love for the USA do not allow me to do so. I consider it important to stay in Washington at the White House during this important period of time. Against this background, sources report that in the past few days, Trump has become increasingly disappointed with the negotiations with Iran. On Tuesday, he told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he wants to give diplomacy another chance. But by Thursday evening, instead, he was leaning toward giving the order to carry out a strike after all. The White House hints that Trump understands the negotiations have reached a dead end, and that's why he allowed for the possibility of a decisive major military operation, after which he could declare victory and end the war. Yes, okay, we didn't achieve everything, but at least it would end on a positive note. In this regard, on Saturday, President Trump met with his negotiators Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to discuss Iran's latest proposal, and he stated that he would most likely make a decision about resuming the war by Sunday. Overall, Trump said that the chances of reaching a favorable deal, or as he put it, quote, blowing them to smithereens, are a solid 50-50 today. At the same time, Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated on Friday that negotiations are ongoing, but a deal is still very, very far off. Tehran states that the main focus right now is on ending the war, and no other issues will be discussed until that is achieved. So the Iranians insist the war must end before negotiations. I've known the Iranians for years. But it's also important to remember that Trump has already come close to resuming the war several times in the past 6 weeks before deciding not to. And that's why we can assume that the willingness to go to war is also an attempt to put pressure on Iran. And that's why, over the next 24 hours, there is a possibility for some kind of breakthrough if Tehran, believes Trump is serious. Nevertheless, Axios reports that Trump apparently is still inclined toward military action unless something unexpected happens during the negotiations. And here are some signs that a new phase of the war is indeed approaching. Pakistani Field Marshal Asim Munir, whom we've already mentioned, I said we would come back to him, today left Tehran without reaching any agreement. But Pakistan announced, quote, encouraging progress toward reaching a final mutual understanding. And here the key word is mutual understanding. It's important to understand what Pakistan is actually saying. According to Pakistani negotiators, Iran and the United States are in the final stage of negotiations on a memorandum of understanding that will end the war but will not resolve any of the disputed issues at all. The memorandum of understanding will also address the gradual reopening of the Hormuz Strait, lifting the American blockade and unfreezing Iran's frozen assets. And only after that will there be a period of actual negotiations on a detailed agreement, and this period will last from 30 to 60 days. That means Trump could end the war, lift the blockade, start unfreezing Iranian assets, and thus lose his main leverage, only to then resume negotiations that will lead nowhere. But what's the point of that? So right now, you can put pressure on Iran precisely with the blockade, sanctions, frozen assets, threats to resume the war, and so on. But if this memorandum of understanding is signed and the war stops, what leverage does Trump have left? Basically none. And Trump may be outrageous and scandalous, but I don't think he's actually stupid. Today he stated that he would only agree to a deal that covers issues such as uranium enrichment and the fate of Iran's existing stockpiles. However, it is unlikely that these issues will be thoroughly resolved within the framework of a memorandum of understanding. Iran has made it clear that our current task is to end the war, and these issues are not even included in this memorandum of understanding. As a result, Trump stated, and I quote, I think one of two things will happen. Either I will hit them harder than ever before, or we will sign a favorable agreement. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. If you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, I would appreciate it. You can do this by donating through any of the links and details in the description of this video. There are a variety of options there. Choose whichever option suits you best, or scan the QR code on your screen. That's the easiest way to support this channel. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.